felt like they were getting into the groove it towards that point, but here we are on Sandhawk, once again sponsored by GT20 Pro, our official smartphone here of the tournament.
So many good things to be said about the GT20 Pro. Hopefully, so many good plays to show just how powerful that phone can be when we get into the games today. Thank you for joining us, everyone. Strap in. We've got a huge house tonight in the crowd as well at the STC Arena. Yesterday, they were going absolutely wild for power. They were hoping to see some huge results from them. We saw some good moments. Can they turn it around more today? Already we're into a scrap. Okay, Twisted Minds and Alliance, a hot drop. They want to kick this one off with some pizzazz.
Alliance 13th place with Twisted Minds in 11th. This is an important fight for them right now. Alliance going pretty big mode on it as they try and take control of this side of the map in Camp Bravo. They lost a player already. Twisted Minds in a similar boat right now. Flax, very low HP. We'll have to heal that one up, but does he have the loot to do it?
You're thrown into this fight so early, so you've had to make concessions in terms of the pickups you got available with the weaponry. Bit of a peek over the top, elevated angle, firing down with the DPS. Beguizao able to handle himself up against Leon's. Hard commits, he's got backup from his teammate on the elevated peak as well. You thin the herd. They're actually able to clap back and leave Alliance in a real rough spot.
Hitting with the laser beam, the barrel like a devil from the bottom side. Does hit nastily. And the team is playing very, very well together here as Twisted Minds. Obscure, we talked about how this guy is the opener a lot of times for the team. Alliance trying to hold on. Flax looks like he doesn't have any kind of equipment, but here comes Boom Esports from the side. Yumi finds the off angle. I'm not sure Twisted Minds know where these shots are coming from, Jackie.
This is Boom. Currently sat in 6th place on the podium, looking to move up if they can steal away points. Ratto Boy with the easy 2K. They were unawares about his location. He cleans up on Alliance, but the new challengers have arrived in Boom from a distance. They've got to figure out how to get Obscure back up.
Question is, will Boom try and move in on this? At the moment, they're just sidling around on Camp Bravo. Twisted Minds should be able to get all three of players back up again. Al-Haji takes a nasty beating for himself there. Should be able to heal that one up, though. This is all the way over towards the western side of the map here. On that northwest island, Power just congregating around that coastal edge with Talon around them. And Alula IHC down towards that south side. Team Liquid start their game off in a very comfortable position in boot camp, but we head down towards that southwest. More favoring, I would say, for Miracle Vibes and potentially even Reject. We're sort of playing the old Gladiator split, and they know they're not in, so they can take a lot of space here down towards that south side on the Confluence compounds. I really like this move from Reject.
If Boom don't like the bait, maybe Alpha 7 do. This is the establishing replay, so you get an idea of what just went down. If you missed it, it was the compound crash, of course, where both teams on the hot drop had to duke it out amongst one another. Boom took shots from the distance. In the end, we say goodbye to Alliance, but Alpha 7, they've sensed the blood in the water. They might feel pretty confident on this one, maybe steal away a few elimination points off the back of the weakened team. Yummy from Boom jumps back in the vehicle as well, so he isn't going to be an issue here.
Ratto Boy getting back up to full HP. 4 limbs, still feels good though. Here's Alula HC. Your demo. Overseering the high ground at the moment. Got a nice purview down towards that south side and towards the east. Giving that information back because right now the rest of the team is in Camp Alpha, so they don't have the greatest of info on what's going on, but he wants to allow his team as much time as possible to get looted in a pretty big POI like Camp Alpha. So I do like this from Demo. And again, this is a big mistake. A lot of people, and people make it at home a lot of times, is when you play that off angle towards the eastern side of the Northwest Island, you've got to be really safe because your whole job is just to give info back and not die. As soon as they lose that player, things get very, very awkward. Here's Alpha 7 though, and this is what you call Jackie.
Oh, that's a huge spray as well. Beautiful work there. With a garden hose, unleashing bullets, spraying them down. And it's only Obscure that's left. There's no timeline where he can make a play to get Guizhou back up. So far fragmented and so low on health. They hard commit onto that. They flushed out the entire squad. Just Obscure remains. He's good off angles. He's good in 1v2s normally, but can he go absolutely huge here? Claps down onto the first. They'll barely save his life.
That was cheeky from Obscure though, bro. Dear me. The question is whether Boom heard this, potentially have a look back down towards that south side, but I think Alpha 7 are safe. Carrillo though, 3 elims. Picked all of them up in that engagement. Basically didn't need the rest of his team to be there, but they will have to get a move on now as the circle starts to encroach over towards them, pushing them further towards that center, down towards that southwest side, as most teams have made it in. Team Liquid even made their way across from boot camp. They crossed the river. They're now on that north side, potentially looking to hold out power as Reject decided to regroup around Painan Bridge and some of the compounds that sit beneath it. I think that's a strong spot, Jackie. Could keep them safe.
Could. It could. You'd hope so. Maybe bolster their defense and set them up for a good swing of things in the day here. DRX on your screens now, of course, as well. Alpha 7 with those early elims. They will be peeling themselves a little bit further ahead. And I suppose the big talking point there really is as well, right? There's a timeline where Obscure does put them down to a trio. Then maybe it's not as great of a start to the game. You're thinking, all right, yeah, we got a couple elims, but now we're in a bumpier spot for the actual chicken dinner. The fact they make it out, stealing all the points, getting away, and still having the full squad alive is gigantic for Alpha 7 on the first game of the day. Yes, yesterday was brilliant for them, but remember, Blank, it's a new day, right? Anything could happen, but that goes to show the blood's still pumping. Decision-making is looking clean.
For Alpha 7, an aggressive map like this is where they really thrive, right? This is where they find their most enjoyment, get themselves the chicken dinner yesterday on this map too. It's potentially looking for a little bit more. Their rotation's a bit more difficult than some other teams here. They're right at the back of the queue on this southeast side. They'll have to go through Boom, the Xavier, who are well renowned for their long-range engagements and some of the nade play. So pushing through them is like pushing through barbed wire. So yeah, the Xavier could be a little bit of a problem in front of them, but Alpha 7 might just blow it to pieces.
You never know with how they're playing. Definitely could be an opportunity for that. Get a bit of an establishing shot here. Nice cinematic pan over the bridge, seeing where Team Liquid and Power are. Of course, that bridge could be a bit of a talking point later on as well with the rotates that are coming down towards it. Currently, Alula XIHC are edge guarding it. You've got Talon and Tiamba that would be late to follow suit.
We wrap this circle over towards that western side on Tambang. So Vampire get themselves a little bit of a lifeline, stay in the game a bit longer towards Tambang. And Nakam down towards that southern edge. Team Liquid looking towards Ruins right now. I think they're posting themselves up around some of the high ground that sits in that area. You might be able to guard out teams like IHC as they come in from that northern side. Yeah, still a lot of space. This is one of the most heavily compounded areas on the map. So for teams, a lot of safety can be garnered. If you're on the outside of the circle, though, those teams that have posted themselves up early on, like 4 Miracle Vibes and Painan, will be looking to stop a lot of these pushes from coming through. TJB with their 9 elims so far on Sandhawk on the average. Very, very nicely done.
Good to see TJB were able to keep their winning streaks up as well in terms of the way they were playing back from survival stage here into playoffs yesterday. Currently only a few points away from potentially breaking themselves into the top 3, the podium finish, if they can maintain it. But you know how things go here. It's incredibly competitive. Anything could change. No one is safe yet. You've also got the rotate from DX Xavier. Start to make their move up. That's closed by IWNRX. Here's a nice shot, actually. Okay, so Reject in the compound. You've got the 2-2 split. So they've got high ground, and you've got cover.
Yeah, it's a smart split as well. I do like that one because where the two players are playing underneath, they're playing looking over towards the compound that sits across from them, the two buildings, which is actually much worse to play in because it's playing on lower ground. They've also got the backstops up top. It will require them to be playing a very, very smart game with the Reject radio in full play so they can communicate back with one another. But we saw them do that on Miramar. Maybe they're leaning into this 2-2 strategy.
It could work well for them. You know, honestly, from what we saw yesterday, if that's a trend that can continue, it looked really good with the decision-making and the way they were prioritizing fights and stealing elims. They weren't overcommitting. Little bit of pot shots going out here and there, though. Few squads taking some jabs at one another and looking to establish some initial chip damage. Tiamba's POV is on our screens. They are going for the pick-me-up play. They should be okay off the back of the angles they're currently rocking. And it seems like they have got a read at least on Misery's angle. Now, he's up top for now, but that zone is going to start moving him forward. At some point, they got to start repositioning here.
Yeah, they got to migrate because they are very far out the zone. I mean, if we just take a quick stock of where they are, they're on the northwest bridge outside of Hattin. They'll still have to rotate either through Paradise Resort or down towards Camp Alpha. So it's a long, long journey ahead of the guys on Tiamba and Talon. So this fight is not good for either parties here. And even if either team tries to leave, there are likely going to be some shots been taken back at one another. Difficult push, basically, Jackie. Very difficult push to make. So I think this is likely going to end in tears at some point.
Yeah, it feels like it's going to go that way, right? It's an argument that both of you want to get out of, but no one is going to just accept defeat on it. Bit of a move on the car, see if you can do a little bit of scouting and potentially find where they've gotten to. In reality, I mean, you've got to focus at some point, like we say, on just bailing out on this one and going for the complete draw back further down towards the actual zone itself as well. You've got a little bit of a move in now from Alula IHC, who are starting to cross that bridge.
Yeah.
The big talking point there was potentially if Liquid can hold them back. Boom! On their rotate, they spot out TJB, and TJB are getting kind of mullered, actually.
Yeah, I mean, they were on the north side of them as well. They were further towards the circle, and Boom has just backstabbed them beautifully. And I think that does come off the fact that they were also pressured by DRX who are over towards that eastern side. But this is the first time in a while I've seen a circle just consistently move out into the water from what didn't seem like that much of a horrible spot to begin with. It's a difficult game to play, and Vampire Esports just grinning, basically, in Tambang right now.
Yeah, just waiting it out. Happy for everyone else to duke it out amongst themselves. Hyunbin saw the opportunity there on TJB. So Tongji Bao down another man as they lose out on Flower. Out of the duo they had left, it has actually been really good in these late game scenarios. So it's rough that he's now thrown to the wayside. This is the elongated fight that's been going on for so damn long between Tianba and Talon. Equal trade towards our side. It's what we were talking about. No one's coming away the victor on this one.
Both teams kind of realize that this is sort of like a 3 or 4 elimination count for both, and then they're just going to go down. I mean, we're heading into stage 4. It's going to be impossible. I don't see that many vehicles, and any vehicles that did exist more than likely have their tires just filled with holes and bullets. Well, likely won't be going anywhere unless they will be limping on into the circle. So I think this fight is done and is sort of irrelevant to the rest of the game at this point in time, but maybe not to the leaderboards, because both these teams will be tumbling down a bit. And for Talon, who was in 5th place, it's not really the greatest of starts to your day. In the meantime, though, I like how Alula IHC actually moved through from Camp Alpha. We talked earlier about some of that scouting we saw from Demo. They moved onto the lower ground, which kind of cuts off a lot of those sight lines as you push through, and they avoided ruins entirely, and now have managed to put themselves up some of this coastal side compounds. Really, really nice moves, very tactically done and subtle. I think that's the main thing to look at here.
Interesting as well, isn't it? Because then you've got basically, no, not just in general, but I mean, like in terms of the standings, right? With the way this one's opened up, you've actually created an awful lot of space. We've got like a huge parting here from 4th. Well, of course, you factor into Amber as well. Now, Talon's out the way. You open up an opportunity for maybe a Team Liquid, maybe a Boom to leapfrog up massively, especially with TJB down to that solo from the awkward encounters they had. Yeah, there's a lot of potential points that have now revealed themselves to some of our teams that were in the middle of the pack. You've got that opportunity to rise up and potentially, with a new zone, be given a golden opportunity.
Yeah, I think the Team Liquid, they made a really nice rotate from boot camp, honestly, straight through, avoided a lot of the fights, and the big thing is that they managed to maintain 4 players for the first time in a while. What is this circle doing? It's just going out of the water consistently. It's about 50% of the circle in water right now. These players might start to jump in themselves and just try and swim this game out as more and more teams are getting taken down to the play zone. This southeast side is so clumped up. There needs to be some de-weeding going on from some of these teams that are in the circle towards a lot of the squads that are attempting to grow forward into the position that they'd like further towards the north. Difficult maneuvers required now.
I think the circle got excited seeing the Ocean Odyssey gameplay yesterday, mate.
Water?
Yeah, it wants more water. No Krakens here, though. No Poseidon to bail you out, so that Trident isn't going to be helping you. It's all about the raw gameplay for Miracle Vibes going down as well to their direct competitors in IWNRX. So they start to move on up. They'll be happy with the 3 Elim points off the back of that. Now, when Xavier were also making their move into the zone, they took heavy damage from Alpha 7. It might not be Elims, but they softened them up so much that the play zone has ruined them.
Yeah, Xavier played a weird game where they were desperate to try and hold out teams as much as possible, and I think they forgot about the fact that the circle was looking nastier and nastier by the second. They actually had a decent opportunity to move in, but they'd rather look towards some of these rotations as they came through. Alpha 7, on the other hand, even though they're an aggressive team, I think that they had way more stock placed on where the circle was. They knew they just had to belt their way into the circle. That's exactly what they do. They've got some front members towards the Boom team here, the McCrellum, as well as Revo. Revo being a very, very good close quarters player. So he's the guy you want up in front. But this is going to be a slightly difficult rotation. Look at that circle. It's actually grim, dude.
Yeah, it's really not comfortable. Considering the amount of players we still have alive right now, trying to squeeze each other in. Maybe Vampire have played the right move the entire time. I mean, they've just been sitting back. They've had a pretty good setup in terms of the actual map control here. And with the zone ushering everyone else in, from high, they're just taking pot shots. So they understand exactly where Lula IHC are coming from. Got that covered. And now GK First actually is kind of making a bit of a smooth move around the back line just to keep his head down. He's just thinking about, like, 20 minutes from now, maybe something like that, then I'll have an opportunity to pop up. Everyone else is battling amongst themselves. Team Liquid, with all 4 alive, do start to throw themselves into the fight. IWNRX watching the move up from the zone as well. They've got vehicles, so they're okay for now. Clap back from Power. That's actually going to be a bit of damage done to Team Liquid here. So it's getting interesting now, Blank.
Luckily, Powers get taken out for Team Liquid from IWNRX, who are just slowly making their way through this circle. I mean, 6 limbs. But you're right, Vampire has literally the tam-banging spot of the circle, and they didn't really have to do too much. They sort of just wanted to keep themselves out the way. The circle said, no. You're winning this game, by the way.
This is for you.
Yeah, this is for you. Stay there. Stay healthy. IWNRX take themselves a knock. And you're right, GK First could get him a really, really good game, purely off the back that so many teams haven't made this play early, and TJB instantly was just switching into points mode. How many can we get from placements? And with the amount of teams that are going to fight on this eastern side, it's likely he's getting a top 5.
Yeah, he could actually make a bit of a smooth move later on. Steal away some points from it. We'll see how that unfolds. Goodbye, though. Alpha 7. They were going from strength to strength on this one, but they've been hit with a detonation as Alpha 7 are gone.
Such a weird play. Talk about gunning into the circle. And talk about a throwaway game for them. I mean, they had the good chance to try and take out Boom Esports, but surely they knew the positions they were in. They're not a bad team at scouting. I think that they were actually going for the crash onto Vampire's spot, but there's still so many angles at this stage of the game that, I don't know, man. I think you just take the straight fight with Boom.
And this is really rough to watch for DRX as well. You're thinking, okay, I mean, Alpha 7 just detonate out of nowhere. Maybe we've actually got a chance to kind of build ourselves a way into the game now. No, you get hit with a barrage of bullets again and again and again until the entire team is torn down. So our number 1 and number 2 squad currently on the rankings are gone here in game 1.
And this gives a perfect opportunity for Reject now in third place. 4 players alive in a fairly decent compound on the eastern side to get even more points on the game. This was the best opportunity for them. Carrying the momentum over from yesterday on that last Miramar, this is awesome for them. Unfortunately, just a tiny corner of their compound now remains in the circle, and Vampire once again gets hit with the lucky stick. And we'll continue in this game here.
GK First still down by the coastal line, just behind Boom. He really is just trying to avoid any kind of sight. Doesn't want to be detected at any point throughout this. And Boom is an important squad here, because if you look at the way we're setting this up with the map screen, Reject, yes, they're going to have to move forward a little bit, meaning some of these players are going to expose themselves. That's IWNRX's opportunity to rain down from the back, and Boom will spot you.
This is where Reject really needs to display a little bit of dominance now, Jackie, because for Reject, they played that Miramar game really well, but this is a big test for them. IWNRX is not a pushover team, but they need to nade them out. They need to take shots. If they clear them from this decent size as they rotate in and go for the crash, Jackie.
Here we go. They make their move in. Nice nade. OCO blowing them away. Drops big boom on them and shuts down the crash in seconds. Uh-oh. It goes from bad to worse. IWNRX, they thought they were given a golden goose egg. We can swoop in and attack Reject. But they took the lights out, turned the lights off, and removed everything there. Reject withstand their first test, but there is a clash. Boom with the other squad. With that move out, they deal some damage, and that's 2 players removed. OCO and Sara no longer alive.
Sara, who did so much damage yesterday for them as well. Unfortunate that they leave at this point. 16 remaining, and I think Reiji as well as Reject would love to get themselves into a top 5 here. A dangerous push out into the open to get into the shack. Pombits, 8 grenades in the pocket. A disgusting amount of ordnance to send over towards Reject's side. The first one is sublime.
They enjoyed that one in the crowd. You could hear the cheers. On point nades. He's got backup as well. And Reject. Their supremacy rejected on this one as Boom bring the Nitro down. And this is now really setting up Boom for potentially a huge game off the back of this, man. It feels like they're in a pretty good spot here. Vampire, maybe they're not as hot as we're thinking. They've had good zone, they've had good positioning, but that's going to change a little bit now. And are they ready when it comes to the gun skill? Tony K certainly is. We know he can slay. He's got backup, and they remove Alula XIHC.
Fortunately for Alula IHC, they just had the right approach to the game, but it was just going away from them so much. And that low ground that was supported them so much in the early game to give them that time to get in actually becomes the death sentence.
You talk about low ground. Look who's just down there. Still alive, still kicking. The last man for Tongji Bao. We said it so long ago. Like, his only mindset was, I'm just going to avoid all of this.
Bro, he could stay in the circle.
Yeah, he's living his movie.
He could literally, this could be a second place for Tongji Bao in 5th right now, looking to jump up. Those 6 points will be gorgeous for him. They go to the top from Tony K, who has been consistently the best player on Vampires at the moment. But it's Boom with a 12 elim game so far, looking to shoot up the rankings, up to 4th place right now.
All of Tongji Bao have got their fingers crossed that this fight between both teams turns into a bit of a messy battle. It's clean on the engagement, at least. Vampires, they get stuck in. The teeth are chomping down, and it's explosive with a nade onto Boom. Reply back from the side. That one goes in. You can see the position of GK first. Oh, the timing on it is brutal for him. He's thrown to the wayside by the play zone, and now it turns into the meat and potatoes action then. What can we do here, Vampires? Can you win out on this one? Show that championship mentality as Boom are bringing the damage to you. The DBS unloads on the first. Peek up for the reply from Yummy, but that one ain't delicious. And there is the final move. Boom, shut it down in the end. Walk away as they withstand the test of Vampires.
A great explosion onto the leaderboard as well. A 3rd place secured. And guess what, Jackie? Tied with DRX, 64 points. What an ending from Boom Esports. A lot of shouts and cheers